Welcome back to Trauma, Drama, and Life. We're super excited to be back with you guys today. If you guys haven't had a chance to be able to submit either a question or an idea or a thought that you want us to be able to go over, you can email us at ben@rawmotivations.com or send us a message on any of the social media platforms, preferably Instagram. That way we actually see it. But we'll probably be doing a couple different polls on Instagram, just saying like, hey, what questions do you have? What's resonating? What are you hearing, seeing? What do you want to hear? Anything like that. So anyways, diving in today, a couple people mentioned just some ideas and some thoughts about dating. And one of the things we've talked about before has been dating. We've talked a little bit and alluded to, like, we go on dates, right? And things like that. But really just diving into it even more so of what we're actually thinking and how we're planning and like what we're doing to actually give date ideas, things like that. I realize a lot of our audience is kind of like all over the place, so no clue where you're at or if these are going to be good ideas or maybe just not even applicable right now. But that's what we do. So we made a commitment, was that last year to start dating? Year. Really?
Yeah, last year.
Yeah, so made a commitment last year. Wow, that's crazy. Time flies. To start dating. And it was something that was really challenged in a men's group that I was a part of, Wake Up Warrior, that was talking about you need to date your wife. And before, that was never something that I thought about. It was never something I considered. That was never something I cared about, really, because I wasn't interested in dating my wife. I was like, I got her, so now what? So it's just kind of like move on, do whatever else. And there wasn't really this aspect of pursuit that would still happen like after the fact. It was just like it happened and that's it. And so I feel like I'm talking the whole time. But anyways, so like diving into just like dating, I guess, do you want to just lead off with like how that's transitioned or how that's felt just over the past year? Because that was a new change. And then this year we've been very much like, we're going to make it happen no matter what. Even when like this week is insane. I mean, we were just talking before we got on this podcast of like, you're like, this Monday is way too busy.
It's like, why did we pack this in on a Monday?
Right. But it is, yeah. It's happening. But it's also like tomorrow we go on a date and tomorrow's our date night for the week because we don't really have any other day we could do it because it's literally that packed. But
because then you're gone. But yeah. So it just, I think transitioning into date nights, it was very weird at first. I remember because it's just like, it wasn't something that we had done very regularly. It would be like these one-off things, special occasions. Mm-hmm. Occasionally if like there was a movie that was coming out that we wanted to both go see, but we wouldn't it was not like we'd got to dinner beforehand. We would just grab snacks at the theater or do whatever, like eat something before. Like it wasn't like an actual planned date. It was just
an afterthought.
Yeah, it was an afterthought. So
soothe the wound of make you feel better. Let's go on a date.
Right. And it just wasn't there. Or if it was there, it was more like faked. Mm-hmm. Like for special occasions. Not that going out for special occasions isn't bad and you shouldn't do those things. You should. But that was the only time that he was willing to date me. And then looking back, it was just more forced and not something that he cared to because he's like, why should I do this? Like,
it was like a check the box thing. Yeah. Like an obligation in one sense. So let me just do this to appease her or show that I care even when I don't at that point. Mm-hmm.
So when we started making that commitment to date last year, I remember it was like slightly awkward at first. Because if you guys if this is your first episode listening to us, like we separated for a while and we had just gotten back together to like work on the marriage to see if this was going to work. So we were like, okay, if it's going to work, we got to go all in. That means we got to start dating. And like, it was just.
It did feel weird.
Really, really weird, really different. And it also took me a while to even trust someone else to watch my child because I was essentially the only person who was watching our 3-year-old at the time, and she wasn't in preschool at the time. She didn't have any other sitters, like no one. Right. And there was a couple of like trusted friends that I would trust her with when we would go out on the special occasions, but we didn't go out enough for us to actually have like a nanny or a sitter or anything. So it was very weird. It took quite a long time to adjust, at least for me letting somebody to watch our daughter, but then
it took us a long time to find one, period.
An issue too. We can talk a whole episode on that.
I don't know how to respond to that.
Thanks, Siri.
She didn't know how to respond to that either. Okay.
But anyways, so afterwards, it kind of just started flowing once we learned how to start communicating better, things that we would be more open and vulnerable about, because our communication was also very surface level. So it was, you could only ask each other how your day was to a certain extent without going further. So it was pushing us to be more vulnerable with each other.
Which sucks. It's hard. It's hard to be vulnerable, period. But then, like, it's even harder, like, when you've been trained yourself for so long not to be vulnerable. So,
Right.
Yeah, 100%. I think that was, like, definitely, like, one of the hard pieces was, like, engaging with that and having to engage on a whole nother level of, like, actual vulnerability of this is what I'm feeling, this is what I'm thinking, this is what I'm actually going through. Like, all those pieces were new and different in starting off with dating again.
Yeah. So that's just kind of like, so once we got into like a rhythm, then it started becoming more natural and we looked forward to date nights. And now, full circle, a year, we were like, it took us like a month here and we were like, we need to find a sitter.
Right.
Because it was like, it wasn't even like something that was like we still made time for date nights and like our house, and we'll talk about that here in a few minutes, like ideas at home. But still, it's good when you have like a good portion of like your afternoon to where you can just have that one-on-one time, because typically at home, especially if you have kids, it's going to be when they have been put down for bed, and so you only have like a couple hours before it's bedtime for you and all of these things. So here we were just like, we gotta find a sitter so that we can actually like go out and like have connection. And yeah, and then it's just kind of like picked back up and flowed since then.
And really, like, the goal this year that we're on track for is that we have like at least a minimum of like 52 dates.
Yes.
You know, every single week is the plan of like, that's like my commitment of, hey, we're going to be investing this on a whole nother level than what we've invested before. And yeah, there's been lots of transitions. There's been a lot of differences getting used to it, getting used to the nuance and stuff like that. I think initially part of the initial change was actually planning it out, like having more of a plan of like, hey, we're going to do this. And sometimes you would plan them, sometimes I would plan them. But it was like, hey, this is the plan. Like, we're actually going to go a certain place. We're going to eat here. We're going to do this. We're going to go on this, you know, mini like trip to someplace or wherever it might be. Yeah. It was actually like planning them out. We've kind of gone back and forth. There's been some days where we haven't planned them out, especially when we moved. We're just like, we have no clue. We're just going to do something just to be able to get out of the house or whatever. And then another resource that we've been using is the Adventure Date Challenge books. Yeah. And so we have one for like the couples edition, and
not sponsored or anything.
Right.
I don't even know about us, but
it's been really helpful. Like, it's been something that I knew I needed to engage with. I just was scared to. I just didn't want to, because it pulls me out of my shell, out of my bubble of like, now I have to do something completely different or crazy in one sense.
Yeah.
But it's like doing it together. And so, I don't know, kind of going like full circle, like one of the biggest things I think for us starting off with dates was just communication in other venues, like communication different places, because we noticed and we identified in our toxic house in Virginia that like we could have better conversations in the car, in the driveway, than we could have inside the house. Like, just the energy, the aura, everything that was happening there inside the house,
the trauma that had already taken place, like all of the things there. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation because we need to stay on topic. But yeah, so
our communication happened.
But our communication
that way, it grew because we took ourselves out of that environment. We weren't in that spot where it was re-triggering everything. Yeah,
and so some date night ideas, just to like, if you are at a place that you and your spouse don't even date like at this point, but you want to start somewhere. I mean, even if it's just like one time a month or 2 times a month, depending on like your financial situation, like we obviously don't know, but it really just depends. What we started doing when we lived in Virginia, we lived near the Virginia Beach area. So we would go out to eat. We'd just find some place to eat, wherever that was. Some places it would be like our favorite place, and the other places we would branch out and try somewhere new. Mm-hmm. And then some nights we would go down to like the ocean front of the beach and just like walk and like talk, get some ice cream if we really wanted any. Just really depends. Like, just those simplistic dates, so then you're not spending like a ton of money, because you're really only buying like your food and if you want ice cream afterwards. But then it's like free to go walk somewhere. Like, So that's a date night idea.
And even like dates that we've had, like dates at home of like Sophia goes down
Yeah.
to bed and we've been like, all right, we're specifically going to do this and spend time together. Like
Yes.
eat together or like watch a movie together or like actually like play a game together or like something like that we've geared of like, this is going to be a specific, you know, date night. And so that's why I think like whether people have money or not, they still need to make the time for it because
you can easily
we didn't.
do.
And that's something that obviously there's way more factors than just not having dates that like cause issues in the marriage, aka me. But like besides that, like there's a lot of people out there that think they have a good marriage, but they're just not investing in each other at all. So how long is that actually going to last as being an actual like good relationship? You know?
Yeah. And so that's also why the Adventure Date Challenge started coming into play, is because when we were getting back into the routine of like dating in general, we had no clue, because after a while it was like, okay, well, like there's only so much right now that we can be vulnerable while we're like healing and repairing. Let's try something new. So then we would scratch off one of those, and there's different ones. It says if you need a sitter, you can do some in home. Like it tells you how much the dates are going to be, like all of this stuff. And for just to give you like an example, an in-home date that we just did recently here, not in Virginia. It was recently, like I guess it was back in January.
Yeah.
It was, you pick out your favorite childhood snack and you watched your favorite childhood TV show.
Shows. Yeah.
And that was just like so nostalgic for me. So we each got like our favorite childhood snack. I got Doritos and he wanted Rice Krispies.
Yeah.
And then we watched our favorite childhood TV show. And you don't have to watch like a ton. We just watched one episode of each.
Different. It just kind of
it was something different. Yeah. And it was pretty cool. And just being able to be like, oh, this is really cool, because it's not something that we typically would watch. This isn't something that we gravitate towards, but then it reminds us of like, oh yeah, we used to watch this all the time, like in our childhood, and just gives you a glimpse, because 9 times out of 10, you're not going to have the same favorite childhood show that you watched.
Yeah. So, I mean, the book is really helpful because it gives just like a lot of different ideas, from doing that to, you know, doing a, you know, date night, going to different restaurants, like getting like, you know, different things from different places. We did, had to draw out cartoons of our lives and, put the captions in Chinese.
Yeah, that one was that one was hard.
There's like several, I don't even remember all of them, but there's like several different. We haven't done like tons. We've definitely done a decent amount, but there's definitely more that we want to do and more that we're going to be doing just moving forward. And
some of them, if you can't have a sitter, you can do them with your kids. There's ones that specifically say you need to do them like with a sitter, and it has like a little symbol, and it will say you need to do it with a sitter. But other than that, some of them are kid friendly. Like one of them, our sitter, we scratched off one in Virginia one time, and our sitter got sick or something, and we took Sophia along, and
it's worked out.
Yeah, and it made like a family date at that point. But we also still made sure that we spent intentional time with each other, like outside of that. So that's just something.
I think that's like the big part of it.
Yeah,
is the intentionality of it.
Right.
Is I think a lot of couples like forget about that, or a lot of couples don't focus on it, or a lot of couples are just like, we're just doing life, and you get caught in the grind of, you know, a lot of times I'll say that, like, back to the grind, you know, just like you get caught in the day-to-day stuff that's happening that you forget to be able to take a pause and forget to be able to take like a moment back. And like, I would forget that all the time, period.
Yeah.
Like, toxic or not, that's just my personality, is like just work. So like it'd be easy for me to be like, but I can't do it yet because I'm focused on this, and this. And it gives just like an outlet of like, okay, we're going to take this intentional time to disconnect from the world, to disconnect from work, to disconnect from other people, and be able to focus on ourselves and our own relationship together. And I think that's been like one of the big things that's helped us move forward.
Yeah, I believe so. And then, yeah. I'm just getting distracted because
it's because Sophia, the sound machine off. Yeah, we're running late, so she's waking up. But anyways, hopefully that it made sense, and hopefully that helped just diving into some of the practices, some of the things that we do, and just the passion we have of saying like, hey, if you really are invested in your relationship, then you need to be invested in your relationship by putting forth that effort to date your spouse, to date the person that you're with, because you need that connection, you need that intentionality. So make sure you guys are doing that. Send us some info, some stuff that you want to be able to hear, some
if
feedback.
you guys want a part 2 for more date night ideas, because this one was a little shorter, just let us know.
Anyways, thank you all so much. Have a great day.
Bye.